Morning, everyone. I'm sure you're all going to be reporting on the weather catastrophe that we're going to be experiencing shortly. I say that in jest. I know that storms can attract a whole lot of media attention. I did, before we talk about, I'm here today with Police Chief Paul Oliveira and Deputy Chief Al Souza, and we do have an announcement to make concerning police department staffing. I did want, before I begin, I did want to say something about the storm that is coming and also its implications for the Ward 3 election tomorrow. So let me just say a couple of things briefly about that. So the latest that we have is that the New Bedford area is going to get about 2 to 5 inches of snow, which is not a huge deal, right? But it's snow, and it'll start early in the morning, and so there may be some interference with not only the commute but also the school, the bus ride to school. We are making announcements about schools tomorrow. If it were just 2 to 5 inches in the middle of the night, that probably wouldn't warrant school closures because of the timing. We may go there. I'm not announcing any of that yet, but that those announcements will come. I did want to just say that we expect city offices to be open. Otherwise, if people in the morning have a tough time getting in, I just say, look, dig yourself out, come in, take your time to come in. The election's going forward no matter what. So we have our Ward 3 special election tomorrow. It's the runoff election, and the candidates have worked very hard in their campaigns, and it's very hard to postpone an election. So even though we've had turnout problems in the city of late, we're still going forward. So my message to people is take your time going to the polls, but please do vote. Please do go to the polls, because it's an important election and an important ward. So there are 5 polling locations, 6 precincts in Ward 3, 5 polling locations at the Hayden McFadden School, Hillside Court, Tabor Mill Community Center, Holy Name, and Bayberry Apartments. All of these are going to be shoveled out. We're going to take extra effort to make sure that people can get safely from the sidewalk or their cars, the case may be, to the polling location. So keep that in mind, but we'll make sure we're out there shoveling. I guess other parts of New England will be getting more snow. This is always tricky in New Bedford, historically, because of our climate. We like to hold ourselves out as the warmest city in New England. I think we are, or close to it, but that means with New England snow events, we're right on that rain-snow line that we're all familiar with. So I just, these are hard to predict, so there may be other announcements to come if the forecast changes dramatically. So let's hold, if there's any questions, we'll just hold on them until we're done entirely. The primary reason we're here today is to make an announcement concerning our police department. And in a moment, I'll call Chief Oliveira to add color to what I'm about to announce. But we have, as has been widely reported around the country, urban police departments, including New Bedford's, have experienced staffing shortages. And we have, and this is something that's been happening for a few years now, but accelerated during the pandemic, and especially accelerated during the period following the civil unrest that many cities around the country felt, right? And there's been there's competing theories about why this is happening. There are changing attitudes about policing in America. There's the economic conditions that are offering up other choices that some people, some younger folks in particular, are gravitating to. Whatever the reasons, we here in New Bedford have a staffing shortage in a number of areas, right? We're seeing some staffing shortages, not just in police, but also in the teaching profession as well. But it's most acute for us in the police department. We budget 259 officers in our police department. And right now, we are staffed at about 214 officers. So we are down some 45 officers. We are fortunate that as cities that are similarly situated to us, that is a size of over 100,000, with a poverty rate of roughly 22%, depending on how you measure it, and being a center city, the crime rate in New Bedford is relatively low. We know that doesn't happen automatically. It takes, among other things, a very active and engaged and trustworthy police department. We have that here, but you do need, at the end of the day, you do need police officers to, a sufficient number of police officers to patrol the streets, to investigate crimes, and to maintain order. So we, in order for us to continue to staff our department at appropriate levels to recover to something that we think is more sustainable in the long run, we are announcing today that we are going to offer a $5,000 signing bonus to new officers. They will receive this just before they are sworn in, and the expectation on our part is that they would remain in the department for at least 5 years. We've seen some officers recently leave to go to other departments, especially suburban departments, after they've been trained. That's been, for us, part of the challenge. So this bonus is both a signing bonus as well as a retention bonus. So and this starts immediately, and this will continue until we see a substantial recovery in our staffing levels. Other police departments, certainly not the first city, not the first police department in the United States to make an announcement like this. We have the money budgeted in the police department budget to actually effectuate this without any real budgetary problem. But we think this is a necessary step. There are other steps that we're taking. Of course, the chief has worked hard on deploying officers more efficiently, so we're getting our officers to do more despite to do more despite the shrunken staffing. So, these include having officers in single officer patrol cars, some adjustments to staffing levels depending on the time of day. There are times of day when we don't need as many officers on the street. But despite these and other efficiencies that we're considering, and despite the ongoing contract negotiations that we have with the police union, we believe that we still need to do more, and that's why we're announcing this bonus today. So with all that, I don't think there's anything else for me to cover, except that I want to just turn it over now to Chief Oliveira to offer a few more remarks about how this will work. Chief.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning. Like the mayor said, I don't think it's any secret to anybody in this room, the nation, our states, and rather large police departments across the country are facing staffing shortages. It's definitely become a crisis throughout the law enforcement agencies throughout the country. So it brings me great pleasure to see here in New Bedford to be proactive and come out with this bonus, this incentive. We definitely think this will definitely put us at the forefront, in this region to attract new talent. There are also a number of other initiatives that have been rolled out and will be rolled out through the department. We have now appointed a recruitment officer. We're in the process of filming a recruitment video, and we'll continue to do outreach and really do more outreach in our local high schools, New Bedford Vote, New Bedford High School, BCC, UMass Dartmouth. So, it's going to be a full court press until this problem's resolved. I think we all understand it's not going to get resolved overnight. So in the meantime, continue to make those decisions and work with the union, how best to manage the personnel that we have. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Chief. All right, that's pretty much covers it, so I'll go ahead and open it up to questions. Go ahead, Anastasia.
What's the last year that the department was at a budgeted level?
I couldn't answer that. It's been a long time.
Before you were
It's
chief.
probably, oh yeah, well before. I was going to say it may even been 15 years, 20 years before we were at full staff, but it's been a long time.
And now the union has been issuing notices on a Facebook page about it being short-staffed every day. There's a short-staff, and it was about 18 days just this month. Is that correct? And what are the impacts when staffing levels are lower for the community or for the officers themselves?
Yeah, so the way that's played out is there's a number of patrol officers that we'd always tried to put on the street each shift. And so what's happened is we'll post those positions, and if we can't fill them, instead of forcing some of those officers, I don't force, and it may create us to go one or two, maybe the most, I think we've gone three officers down on the street. So, we do have a couple positions. We have a prisoner transport van that doesn't respond to 911 calls that I'm able to pull off the street, and we have a couple overlap cars that I'm able to pull off. Like the mayor said, obviously, time of day of week, with the summer months coming, we may not have so much flexibility, but right now, if I can save my officers' mental health and wellness and try to minimize the forcing, I'm sure you've seen in the studies, the number one reason police officers are leaving departments is because of the forced overtime. So what I've done up to this point is try to minimize the forcing in the hopes we keep our young officers fresh, energized, and keep their morale up. That's more important to me at this point in time when I can do so, like I said, when those staffing levels allow.
And about how often is forced overtime happening?
Well, I've been preventing it by keeping some of the staffing levels down. But so right now, there's voluntary overtime. It's on a daily basis. But that's right now we have training going on. There's different things that are going on throughout the time of the year that creates the manpower sometimes to fluctuate.
Are they contractually obligated to stay for that 5-year period that you were mentioning?
With this bonus, yes.
And if they left before that 5 years was up, would they have to pay the bonus back?
Yeah, yes, that's correct.
Have you noticed any, slowing in response times, or have you been able to keep everything where it's been by moving parts around?
Yes, there's been no slowdown on response times, I would say. That's definitely wouldn't be the case. Like I said, with the COVID, we had a number of units that were two-man officers, two-person officer units. And during COVID, we deployed all those cruisers with one officer. And now we're continuing to do so. So on that 4 to midnight and midnight shift, that puts us out about another extra 6 cruisers to double up some patrol sectors. So that's helped.
With the MBTA, are you really pushing for more staffing to help with some additional traffic that we'll see?
Yeah, I can't say that I've met with the MBTA as of yet on what the needs are or will be of the police department. Supposedly there are some meetings that will be happening in the near future, but not as of yet.
I don't see a big impact of that.
You noted New Bedford is not the first municipality to do this talker bonus. Have you found that other departments in the police departments that this has been an effective measure, that this has worked for them in recruiting?
I'll offer a quick comment and turn it to you, but I mean, just in talking to other mayors around the country, there aren't many cities in Massachusetts and New England that have done this. There are lots of cities around the country that have done this. We know the Bristol County Sheriff's Office has offered a bonus as well. I think the jury's still out, candidly, and on the yield, as it were. I mean, it'll take some time to understand exactly to what degree the bonus has motivated people to come and then stay, officers to come and to stay. But we can afford to do this, and it doesn't make sense to wait around and figure out whether it's useful or not. Intuitively, it makes sense, and it's one of many things that we're doing to deal with, a chronic staffing shortage.
Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think it's a great tool to use. Do we think it's going to change the problem overnight? No, but it's definitely been used in other jurisdictions throughout the country, and they have seen positive results. So I think it's a great idea.
Are COVID vaccines still required on departments?
No.
Was that ever a policy that you had, and if so, when did that change?
It's been a while.
I forget,
It's been
yeah.
about a year.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
It never became an issue here as far as coming and going and leaving, or terminations like it did throughout other jurisdictions, but no.
What do you find is the source of these shortages? Is it people retiring? Are they resigning? Are they moving to other, like, suburban communities? What's happening with officers that are leaving and why?
Yeah, so it's really all of the above. In January, we did have a large number of officers retire. It's probably the biggest number we've had in a long time. In the police world here in Massachusetts, with the way the pension system's set up, usually when officers retire, that's usually your biggest month is January. So this year we saw double-digit numbers, just because, people get to that age in the years of service that makes them pensionable allowable. So they took advantage of that. So, have we lost officers to other departments? Yes. Have we lost police officers to other professions? Yes. So it's really somewhat the perfect storm at this point in the profession, where people have kind of now been leaving for a whole host of reasons.
Yeah, can I ask, let me add one thing, because I think it's important to round out the picture and answer your question. So, applications are also down, and the yield of qualified candidates on the applications is, fair to say, it's a lot lower than it has been, not as many qualified people. And so one thing that I just want everybody to know here is that one thing we will not do is lower the standards to become a police officer in New Bedford. That is the last thing you want to do for reasons that I'm sure we can all imagine. But we don't, we want to hire highly qualified folks who are trustworthy, who backstop the legitimacy of our police department. And so that's a big part of the challenge. The pipeline here is not what it once was. And again, it mirrors national trends. It mirrors trends in other professions. The United States Army had its worst recruiting year in a half a century last year. And this is, there are, and as you guys know, you see it in the media profession as well. There are certain professions that are really struggling to bring, especially younger folks, into their ranks. If you want. Yeah, go
The
ahead.
officers that have left to other departments, was there any, insight they gave on their way out why they chose to leave to go to another department? Anything we can touch on that?
It's the trend, really, what we've seen here in New Bedford, and speaking with those officers, is really no different than the national trend. They've left, basically the urban-sized police department to go to a suburban-sized police department in most cases that we've seen. We've also lost, we lose a fair number of officers usually to the state police also. But you'd see, and we never saw the trend in the law enforcement profession where so many left the urban police department to go to the suburbs. The bigger departments had a lot more opportunity, which really enticed people, whether the investigative bureaus and promotional opportunities. So obviously now people are choosing the smaller, quieter, more quaint way of policing over that type.
And there's a residency requirement for police officers, yes? And has
Yes.
the city contemplated reviewing that or maybe lifting that requirement to attract people to work for New Bedford Police Department?
Well, we're in the middle of contract negotiations right now, so I don't want to get into that, but that is something that's being considered as a matter of necessity, either on a temporary or more permanent basis. All right, well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I just want to recognize Ward 6 Councilor Ryan Pereira is here with us today, a big supporter of the police department. And I want to thank the chief and the deputy chief, but I also want to close with this, and that is policing is a noble profession. We need good people to be police officers, to keep everybody safe, to maintain order, and to maintain the legitimacy of municipal government and law enforcement, the law enforcement arm of municipal government. So I encourage people to take advantage of this. New Bedford has high standards for police officers, and that's what our residents deserve, and we hope this bonus will make it easier and more enticing for folks to join our ranks. Thanks a lot. Stay warm.